Good morning and welcome back to Garden Bug Poetry. I hope everyone had a good and fun weekend, best you could anyway. As promised, the poem today is Campbell Hill. The easiest way for the feather to find the tongue is for a curious child to rise to love the shadows, even when there are no shadows, to keep a cricket in their pocket long enough to release the cricket at the high point of Ohio, and cross the silence of the wind's pause to smile when nature's open hand meets theirs. It's those small journeys made long by short legs that cements the luxury of a world without walls. Each moment always holds the children that climb Campbell Hill as dappled fruit, as the bloom that moves without roots, and when they reach that peak that is short of a mountain's peak, it doesn't matter if it takes them so long that the sun has disappeared. Their arrival is our arrival. Their bravery is our renewal. Not all of the light in this world arrives at dawn. So that's the first poem that I've read for you kids that has more of a grown-up voice to it. Most of the poems I read last week had a child's viewpoint and a child's reaction to different things. But the lesson for today and what we're trying to move into is the idea that whatever your vantage is that the world is big. And poetry is big too. We talked a lot about the small parts of poetry last week. We talked about words and sounds. We talked about stories, animals, adventures, feelings, and other things as well. This week we're going to talk about, we're going to take those lessons with us, we're going to move forward. And when I teach poetry to older students, I talk about as many as 17 different things that go into the decisions about what you're going to write about and how you're going to write about when you try to approach writing a new poem. But that's a lot of things to think about or make decisions on, and you don't always make that many decisions when you write a poem. Sometimes it's much easier than that. But there's one of them, though, that I want to talk about today, and that's when you decide to write about the outside world, when you decide to write about the big part of the world that you live in. So that's what I want you to think about. When I read a poem like Campbell Hill, I'm thinking about hope and promise, how beautiful exploration and energy and just the verve that comes, the excitement that comes with children exploring a much bigger world. So that's what I want you to think about today as well. So our prompts. For the younger kids, remember this is going to be all the way from preschool maybe to second grade. I want you to write a poem about a place that you visited. So a place that isn't your home. I want you to think about the outside world and write a poem about some place you've been. Some place that was exciting, some place that felt new, right? And for the older kids, I want you to write a poem about a place you've never been. I want you to write a poem about a place you want to go and sort of imagine what it's going to be like to be there. Think about your senses, right? Think about smell and taste and what you're going to see and what you're going to hear. Use your descriptive words. If you want to come up with fun words and fun sounds that you want to work into that, that's just fine. But make sure that it's a place you haven't been before. So remember, younger kids, write about a place that you've been and describe it and turn all of that excitement and energy of visiting a new place and put it in a poem. And for the older kids, I want you to try to imagine a place that you haven't been and still try to write a poem about it. And try to make that excitement generated in the poem and try to make sure that it's at the end of it, it feels like you've looked at the bigger world than you might normally do that. So that's what I want you to try. And remember, when you write the poems, go ahead and send them in to gardenbugpoetry@gmail.com, and we will make sure to read our favorites in the next episode. So coming up next, we have a poem that's about to be read, and we'll get to that in just a second. Thank you for joining Garden Bug Poetry.
And you've seen me read a bunch of more poems, but this one's called Pokedex, if you can. Popox? Nope. Pobex? Close but no. Q? What? Poketau? No. You are out of the game. Pokedex. I said it. You what? Is my prize. A gift card to Pokemon, but it is out of Pokemon. Sorry, bye. Oh, man. Thank you.
And for joining us today, welcome back to Garden Bug Poetry. Remember to send in any of the poems you like from any of the prompts from last week or this week. We'll be happy to read them and happy to share them on the next videos. Just send them to gardenbugpoetry@gmail.com. I hope wherever you are, that it's a beautiful day. I hope that you're staying healthy, and I hope that you're staying ornery. Thanks for joining Garden Bug Poetry.